this is Todd Tretchler, and I'm here with my guest, Sean Stuber, who recently won 2 awards in both the SQL and PL SQL category for the Oracle Database Developer Choice Awards, or the Devvies as we call them. And Sean, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You won those awards. Obviously, you did a lot of contributing back to the community. One thing I'm always interested in is the backstory of you developers. Is, how did you get started out? And I know that, people just starting out in the business are also interested in stuff like that. How did you get started up in technology? How did you get to where you are now?
Okay. Well, actually, my initial path through technology was I won a competition that I didn't even know I had entered back in high school, just through the standardized testing, the SATs and ACTs and things like that. I got invited to the University of Miami to a computer camp, and with another one of my friends from school, we both won. We went down there, and we took a whole quarter of computer science classes compacted into 1 month.
Wow!
So it was very intense, and I had never had any exposure. I mean, I had written the basic program, 2-line basic, 10. Hello, Sean. 20 go 210.
Hello, world.
That's my computer science background, and so I just went and we learned Pascal. We learned some graphics. We learned actually build our own circuit boards, and it was very interesting. And then from there, I came back to school and started working in our library, working with computers there, and kind of liked it. After high school, I won a scholarship with the company my dad was working for at the time. And along with that, I got an internship. And when I showed up there, they didn't really have anything for me to do. I was just, fresh out of high school, had no real experience. And they said, "What can you do?" And I pointed the computer in the back and I said, I can make that thing run. And so they just had me write, little tools and scripts and things for them. And it's actually not what I wanted. My mom had actually said, "Why don't you go into computer programming?" I'm like, "No, I want to be a physicist." And she was, "Okay, well, that's a fine career path. So why don't you go ahead and do that?" I said, "And this keeps paying your bills." And so I kept doing that. And then after a while, I just decided I really liked this. This was very interesting, working with bigger and bigger data sets. My major changed from physics to math, and computers really helped with that. And after I graduated from college, I got a job with a company that wrote inventory management systems and order processing, things like that. And that was my first introduction to database programming. And that was really just a crash course. They hired me for my C skills. And then first day they said, "Do you know how to write SQL?" I said, "I don't even know what that is." "Well, you're going to have to learn."
Last words, huh?
Yes. and then I turned out I love that. I like the nature of it, working with sets, and coming from the math background, I guess maybe I adapted to that more quickly than some people do.
Yeah.
I appreciated the power of SQL, and then tuning came with that too. Like, how do I write a good query? How do I process hundreds of thousands of rows, which back 20 years ago was still considered a lot.
Yeah.
And that just became more and more interesting. And again, it just kept paying the bills. So I said, this is, I think, what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life.
Nice. No, you mentioned performance tuning. What's some of your, like 12C, database 12C, flagship version of the database. What would you say is your favorite app dev feature in the database?
I've got a couple. Probably my favorite one that I haven't really gotten a chance to use very much yet is the pattern matching. Mm-hmm. Because that's a very interesting thing it's never been, it's brand new. I mean, there's other things. I like the changes in security with working with PL SQL packages, finer granularity. I think that's neat. I like the external procedures don't have to run as Oracle anymore. So that's definitely a nice upgrade.
A little bit more flexibility.
Yeah, but those are really sort of extensions of things that have been there for, a couple decades now. Whereas this pattern matching, that's brand new. And it's sort of an extension of analytics, kind of an extension of the model clause, and it kind of structured similarly, but really it's a brand new functionality. And the first time I wrote some queries with it, like, wow, I could really do some things very neat. And they perform well. And really, when the query was done, it was very simple to read. I mean, somebody that had never seen a pattern matching query before was able to walk through it, and they knew what it did. It wasn't, arcane and weird, like when you first time somebody sees the model clause, in a SQL statement, maybe even the 100th time they see the model clause, they go, I don't even know what this thing does. They can be very complex. Or is that
easier to read? Yeah,
it was easy to read, concise, and powerful. I really enjoyed that. So we still have most of our databases are still 11G. We've got a few that have upgraded to 12, and that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to, particularly when we move like our data warehouses and other databases where we do analytics, to try to take advantage of that.
So you do a lot of like data warehousing and analytics and stuff like that. What's some of your more interesting project? What's the most interesting project you've worked on?
Probably the most
that you can speak about without getting locked up.
Okay. Well, one of the things I think is most interesting, I had two problems where actually what my major task was proving that it wasn't solvable.
Oh, wow.
And so the project turned into breaking the project down into something else. And both of them basically involved just combinatorics. It was a problem set where we were trying to match lots and lots of points together, and the potential explosion ended up in the quintillions of possible combinations. And I said, we can't solve that. Yeah. It originally came to me as a performance problem. I said, this query just will never return.
Yeah.
And after I started looking at like, you're right, it won't. We don't have a computer on this planet, let alone in our company, that can handle this problem. And so then it was a matter of redefining it and getting it into smaller chunks that actually were processable. And then it became an interesting tuning task of, once they were in,
actual runnable chunks.
Yeah, actual runnable things. Then it became several billion permutations, so it still was computationally intensive.
Yeah.
And materialized views to pre-process things, modifying the way the data was loaded, so that as things were loaded, they would fill in some tables with pre-computed values as they went, and sort of front loading as much of the processing as we could, so that by the time a user was ready to run their process, it could still perform. And I think we got it down to a couple hours from infinity.
Excellent. So, I mean, when you're doing this stuff, what are some of your favorite tools that you use to actually work with to actually get this done? Or just using VI editor and
I do use VI if I have to, but Toad is the thing I use most often. Both as for development and my actual titles. I am a DBA, although I do a lot of tuning and coding. But that combination of power. I do use SQL Developer sometimes. I've used PL SQL Developer sometimes, but Toad's where I pretty much online all the time in Toad somewhere. Yeah. Yes.
Excellent. Now, if you were going to give some advice to a guy that was just starting out, say a university student or young developer that's been thrown in and said, "Hey, do you know SQL?" What would you do? What would you say?
Well, the learn SQL. That's and I say that one because it's funny that it applies to me so well, but it's a very portable skill. Oracle is my preference, and I think has probably got the most powerful set. But 80-90% of SQL I can pick up, and I do work on SQL Server, so it's a portable skill. I've worked with DB2. I've helped with small stuff, Microsoft Access. I mean, it's a portable.
Really a SQL engine?
I'm sorry?
Is that really a SQL engine?
Well, it can parse and process SQL. Yeah, I mean, it's different scale, but I mean, it's a portable skill, and that is, I think, immensely important. And then just if you don't know how to write SQL well, then you will end up relying on other tools to do your data processing, and they will always be inferior.
Okay.
Be a really good Java programmer, a really good C# programmer, but if the first step of all of your activity is pull the data out of the database so you can go do something, well, in that initial pull, is nothing more than select star, where you've just taken away all the power of the database. I mean, Oracle has spent, I'm going to guess, several dozens of billions of dollars
It's a face.
investing in the power of this machine. They're pretty good at it, and it's take advantage of that. And so learn SQL, and then from there you can learn PL SQL and expand on it. But that initial foundational skill of SQL is immensely powerful and portable. And then if you know that, you can go into other industries, because if they're sitting on top of a database, which everybody is, you can take advantage of it.
Yeah. Now you mentioned PL SQL. In a nutshell, what would you say the strengths are of the PL SQL?
Just simplicity. It's very easy to use. If you know any language at all, you can use PL SQL to write something. And just the very simple begin for variable in select statement, and that structure is immensely powerful and very simple. I mean, you can read that if you've ever written a for loop in any language at all, you can go into a cursor for loop and do something very powerful. Within your first 10 minutes of writing, learning the language, you can do something, and it's impressive.
Excellent.
That's my favorite feature.
Excellent. Well, Sean, I super appreciate your time. And thanks again for just all of the work that you do in terms of answering questions on the forums and giving back to the community. And congratulations on winning both the PL SQL categories.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun to do, too.
Excellent. Thanks, Sean. Keep up with the good work.
Thank you. Great. Bye.